Hey everybody, welcome back to Leaders Lead. I have John Myers with us tonight. We are super thrilled that you're here. John, you stuck with us through the first one. You dropped some epic wisdom. Loved it. For the people that are just hopping in on this one, the stories, you can't make it up. John compared himself to the Forrest Gump of the Marine Corps. I don't believe it. He's got like Forrest Gump is B-roll to him. Um, hey, thanks for being here. Do you want to just do a really, really quick introduction, and then we'll just kind of go through some stuff real quick.
Sure,
And my dogs decide that they want to say hi too.
that's fine. I'm nervous about my dog waking up and making some noise. But yeah, first of all, on the Forrest Gump of the Marine Corps thing, I like to think that that's somewhat true, minus the intellectual challenges that he had. Like, I don't have any of that going on. But yeah, so I'm John Myers. I was a Marine for 28 years. I was the Marine in charge of the Marines that were supposed to go to Benghazi. I was the Marine, one of the retired Marines that helped evacuate Afghanistan, and I'm currently a candidate for Congress in Virginia for the 7th District. And I live in Virginia with my wife, my son, and I have two daughters that are away at a college.
Before we get into the questions in this episode, I want to ask you a little bit about what's it like to be on a naval ship, right? So in your book, American to the Corpse, which by the way is
I
super
like that you
awesome.
call
I'm
it
going to
American
plug it
to
a
the
few more times for you.
corpse. Technically it's
Yeah, I did
American
that
to
on
the
purpose.
core, but I like corpse better.
Yep. I yeah, I'm doing that because it's plural. That's how my daughter read it to me. She's very
No,
literal.
I like it.
Just dad, straight to the
I
point.
like it.
Um, what's it like? And so we have this like really crazy thing that if you can see right here behind me, your book references this ship,
True.
uh, the Kearsarge, right? If I'm saying that right,
Kearsarge.
Kearsarge,
Yes.
yeah. And one of my childhood friends served on that ship, and he sent me the blue nose coin, which is right here, if I'm saying that right, and that patch and some other stuff from it. And you served on that ship,
I
right?
did. Yeah, so the Kearsarge is, I believe it's the second iteration of Kearsarge. There was another Kearsarge. Sometimes the Navy will have a ship and take it out of commission, or it'll sink, and then years later they'll name another ship the same. And I believe the Kearsarge is a mountain in the Pacific Northwest. And so this
Okay.
ship it's LHD-2, Amphibious Transport Dock 2. So it's like a big aircraft carrier that carries helicopters and Harrier jets and a whole lot of Marines and artillery and weapons. And it's basically just like a mini Marine Corps, aviation, artillery. It used to have tanks. We've lost our tanks.
It's
Bunch
huge.
of infantry. And so, yeah, I mean, living on the ship is, some people hate it. I'm just one of those people who took to it. I love being at sea. I love living on the ship, but it is like living inside of a giant machine. It's pretty dangerous environment. It's not like a commercial ship. It's not nice hallways. It's basically machines. You're walking inside of machines, and people do get hurt, and a lot of crazy things happen. But it's definitely the part of the military where you're out there. I mean, you're out there doing stuff. And as soon as you go to sea, you feel like you're out there, representing America and traveling around and making things happen in this giant war machine. You know,
Yeah,
I use that term because I
that's
remember
rad.
once being in the Greek islands and some in a bar having some beers, and some Brits came up to me and they were like, "That's a magnificent war machine you have out there." I was like, "Thanks."
That's awesome. A war machine. I like it. Sounds like you should be part of the Iron Man
Yeah,
Marvel
yeah.
Avengers. That's fantastic. Hey, I got a question for you about, Leaders Lead. It's all about passing leadership wisdom from life experiences, right? Because that's what it's all about is sharing these experiences and trying to give people that check into it. Um, the generational knowledge that you've experienced, we've experienced, and pass it along. Um, can you share with us a time that You literally have been in life and death situations,
Sure.
right?
Mostly on
Like,
the receiving end. I'm not an infantry officer, but
yeah,
a lot on the receiving end.
yep. But you have, and you've been in some high pressure, high stress situations, and that requires, like being able to be collected, calm, and keep your thoughts with you. And you've had to make some decisions during those times, right? Can you walk us through from as a leader? How do you deal with it?
Yes.
Like, what? Give us an example.
Okay. So I have found that when you're a leader, there's two different kinds. There's the kind who learn it from a textbook, you know, and then they go out into the fleet or out into the Marine Corps or the Navy, and nobody really takes to them because it's, to me, a leader is like genuine, like it's just a natural ability that can be enhanced through instruction. But if you're not a leader, I don't think you can just learn it and just grasp it naturally. And one of the things I think was most important is sticking to your principles, your leadership principles, and your vision, despite the chaos and the pressure that's going on around you. And one example I'll give is it's not going to be a combat story. It's not going to be, we were, doing all these cool things and to the enemy and whatever. It's not that. It's during the Scott O'Grady rescue in the 90s when we were on the Kearsarge and there was an Air Force pilot who was shot down behind enemy lines. And he'd been lost for a week. And the intelligence section on the ship for the pilots was myself and a corporal. And we just, I told the corporal, just keep working on the electronic order battle, tracking all the missiles and things. And we were just doing that, just focused on that. And at one point, he told me, "Sir, I think one of these missiles moved slightly." And I was like, "Are you sure about that?" And he said, "Yeah, it looks like it's in a different position. I think it's tracked and on tracks of a mobile unit, and they're moving it because they're going to try to shoot down one of these Air Force jets." And I just double checked and made sure that he was sure about it, and he stuck to his guns and said yes. So I stuck to my guns, and we called the Air Force in Italy, and we told them there's a missile that's moving around. They're going to try to shoot down your jet, and they told us, yeah, don't worry about it. We don't see that, and you guys are Marines, so just don't worry about it. We're the Air Force. We know what we're doing. And sure enough, that missile moved, and it shot down Captain O'Grady, and then he was lost for a week, and the general consensus on the boat, especially amongst the commanders, was that he was dead. And so they kept telling us, they're holding briefings, he's dead, there's no way he could survive, he's dead. But myself and my corporal, we stuck to our guns that, we assessed that he was alive. And no matter, we just kept working and kept trying to find evidence that he was alive. And whereas most people had pretty much given up. And after a week or so, we detected radio signals from O'Grady on the ground using his emergency radio, saying that he was alive. And then, of course, the giant mission was launched and all the stuff that was in the movie and everything. But if we had not stuck to our principles and our job and focused on the mission that it was to rescue the pilot, then we might have let up and we might not have captured that radio signal and we might not have known he was alive and we might never have rescued him. So I think just it just demonstrates the value of perseverance. Um, Being a good leader and persevering through all of the doubt, self-doubt. We had doubt. Everybody around us was telling us it was impossible. He was dead, but especially my corporal was just he just stuck to it, just persevered through everything, and had a very successful result.
Yeah, I man, that what a story, and to actually hear you say it and tell it literally gave me goosebumps. Um, because I I know what the just move on means in the military. We're done
Yeah,
here, right? And like the shut up and color,
correct.
right? Like, and
You're being dramatic. You're
God,
you're being dramatic. You're overreacting. But and
hmm
there's all this pressure to just sort of move
and
on.
and and you're going completely against like a command almost, right? And and so kudos to you for sticking to your guns. I had a leader once. His name was Bill, and he was super eccentric. Um, he he gave me a piece of advice once, and I think it's kind of like what you're saying is like have that vision and be able to stick to what you're saying. And he goes, if you're going to be a leader, imagine yourself an artist, and you're a painter, right? And you're painting this mural and this your masterpiece on this canvas, and you have a paintbrush. What are you going to paint? Right? What's your vision?
Hmm.
What are you trying to tell people? What are you trying to say to them? And so when people look at that canvas, what are you trying to say to them? And what are you sticking to? Because the paint from the paintbrush is sticking to the canvas. And that's metaphorically what you said. Or actually what you said is you stuck to your guns and you stood up for what you believed in. And the metaphor of this is the paintbrush was sticking the paint to the canvas, and it was telling what your what your standards were and your morals were and what you stood
Right.
for. And uh, he just told me, he's like, make damn well sure you know what you're trying to say and how you're saying it, and stick to it.
Yeah.
And so that message stuck to me, and it's that what you told us is a true testament of that.
Yeah.
And O'Grady's alive because of it.
Yeah. And I'm still in contact with him. And actually, every June 9th, he sends me a message. Every June 9th, he sends me a text saying, thank you for my second birthday. That's what he usually sends. Say, thank you for my second birthday.
Man, O'Grady, if you're watching this and if you're seeing this, awesome. Um, that's rad. I've always wanted to say thank you for your service. So if you're watching this, I worked on F-16s. I was a weapon system dude. Launched and recovered a weapon system, so I have an affinity towards F-16s.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, O'Grady was an F-16 pilot out of Aviano. And yeah, I anyway, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now, but yeah. Anyway, I would love for you to send the link to this one to him.
Okay.
Um, uh, I think that's a really awesome lesson. What did your corporal learn out of that? Well, how did he react to your leadership of that situation, and what was the significance of the impact on him?
He was naturally that way, anyways. We were pretty similar. We had another Marine in the section that was sort of the staff NCO that we didn't really jibe with. So it was one of those situations where we worked around him. But the corporal and I were very similar, and he was so focused and dedicated to his task. Like there was no distracting him, and it didn't take a whole lot of guidance from me to get that guy to do the right thing. He was on it, and actually he became an officer in the Air Force later. He left the Marine Corps and joined the Air Force and became an officer. And the last I'd heard, he was, a major or something. So,
Yeah, I have all sorts of military banter to insert, but I'll pass on that right now. The typical
yeah.
the banter. Hey, Jonathan, John, I think that this was awesome. Thanks for dropping some wisdom on some leadership stuff. What I really love about this right now is that not all military lessons and leadership lessons have to be about kicking in doors, right? I mean, we talked about that a little bit. There's a lot of thought process and due diligence that goes into leadership, just like in any other business. Um, and that's what that keeps me excited about this, of sharing those nuggets of leadership and what people are doing after the service and the success that they're having. And um, thanks for sharing that. What can we do to lift you up? How can we support you now that you're back home? You're in the States. You got some pretty ambitious goals, which, by the way, I hope you're successful with, because you're my dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm running for Congress here in Virginia. So anybody who's watching can just go check out our campaign webpage at Myers for Virginia, MYERSFOR Virginia. You know, read about my issues and learn more about me, and send me a message if you want to help in any way. I may even have my phone number
Yeah.
on there. So yeah, you can call me, whatever. I'll talk whenever about my vision
Yeah.
for America and Virginia. It's U.S. Congress, so it's big issues we're dealing with. And when we talked earlier
Hmm.
about the sticking to your principles and that sort of thing, that's the kind of guy I am, and that's the kind of people that are rare these days in Congress. I don't think many people up there have principles. It's kind of just whichever direction the wind is blowing, that's where they go, or whatever gets them the most likes on their tweet. That sort of seems to be the mentality up there now. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can change that.
Yeah. Right on. Hey, thanks for sticking with us for episode 2 out of episode 5 on Leaders Lead. We're going to be back to record episode 3 out of episode 5. John, thanks for the wisdom you dropped tonight on this episode. Looking forward to the next episode. Everybody have a great night, and thanks for sticking with us.